5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Gringo Show. Glad to be with you all tonight. We have a great show for you as always. Well, not always. Some shows aren't great. Sometimes I'm just not in the mood. But tonight I am in the mood, and we've got for you jealous girlfriends, people who like to press big red buttons, caguamas, weed, and dancing construction workers. What else do you need to do for the next 20 minutes of your life? So do not click away and start watching videos of dogs and cats that mimic human behavior. Yes, dogs smile and cats play the piano. We know this already, but stay with us and you're going to learn a little more about what's happening here in Mexico and the US. So let's get started. Singer Dua Lipa made a stop in Mexico City last weekend to shoot a commercial for Yves Saint Laurent, coming off a big win for Best Vocal Pop Album at the Grammys a few weeks ago. Her crazy fans were tipped off that she was in town, and when she walked out of the building, this happened. No one officially knows why the girl pushed her, but let me see if I can guess. Jealous that her boyfriend likes Dua Lipa more than her? He accidentally called her Dua Lipa instead of her name. It's like, Dua Lipa. I mean, Marifer, te amo. Or, Dua Lipa wouldn't tell me to get a job and clean the kitchen. I'm just really trying to understand why she went out and just pushed her. I mean, isn't she a big fan? Mexico City was shaken up this past weekend as a small 5.9 earthquake shook the region on Friday night, prompting evacuations and questions whether the alarm should have been activated in the first place. Then at 8 a.m. on Saturday morning, the alarm was activating again, but it was a false alarm. There was no earthquake. Head of Mexico City government, Claudia Sheinbaum, immediately issued an apology and fired 2 people in charge of the department. But I have incredible news for you. We actually have on the show right now the guy who actually pushed the button to activate the alarm. Julio Sanchez, thanks so much for joining us on the show. Julio, why did you push the button?
Well, first of all, you need to know that this job is really stressful, having this huge red button, it's always a temptation. So yeah, my job is always to wait for an earthquake to press that button. And finally the day came. I pressed that button with an earthquake, but the emotion was so big that the next day, my replacement, he told me, I bet you cannot press that button again. So
wait, yeah. So time out. So on Friday night, you pushed the button. There was an earthquake, right? You just had the temblor was there, but maybe some people said it wasn't strong enough. But then on Saturday morning, 8 a.m., the button was pressed again. You pressed the button a second time?
Yes, it was because I was really hungry. When I get stressed, I get really hungry, so I needed some money to eat something. And well, my friend told me, I bet you 50 pesos, and I took it. That big red button was calling for my name. He wanted me to press it, so I did it again. Yes. I'm sorry, guys.
This is a very, very bad thing. People were evacuated. And of course, this is only 3 years after the 19 de septiembre 2017. So people are really scarred and people are feeling pressure. Julio, why did you do this?
I'm sorry, guys. I was hungry. I was excited. I needed to press it. I hope you don't be mad with me.
Please, Julio, next time, make sure you press the button. There's an earthquake. Julio, the button operator for the C5. Thanks so much for joining us on the show today.
Thank you.
Don't
Thank you. No, for sure I won't. I got fired.
Okay, thank you very much. Mexico and the U.S. this week are struggling to deal with the new influx of migrants headed to the U.S. border, saturating facilities, putting a strain on law enforcement, and increasing tensions between the two countries. Mexican President Andrés Manuel López Obrador, in a recent morning press conference, shared that Biden's policies are a reason why people are coming across the border.
Se crearon expectativas acerca de que con el gobierno del presidente Biden iba a haber un mejor trato a los migrantes. Y esto pues ha originado el que migrantes centroamericanos y también de nuestro país quieran cruzar la frontera, pensando de que es más fácil hacerlo.
So basically, he said that because Biden's a nice guy and Biden's policies are friendly, that people are coming across. Well, today, Biden, in his first press conference as president, which was primarily focused on the issue at the border, didn't agree with that sentiment.
I guess I should be flattered. People are coming because I'm the nice guy. That's the reason why it's happening. That I'm a decent man, or however it's phrased. That that's why they're coming, because no, Biden's a good guy. Truth of the matter is, nothing has changed. As many people.
Yes, nothing has changed. He's right. This has been a problem for some time, and for some reason, AMLO struck a different tone with Trump, and it concerns Biden a lot.
What about dealing with families? Why are not some not going back? Because Mexico is refusing to take them back. They're saying they won't take them back, not all of them. We're in negotiations with the president of Mexico. I think we're going to see that change.
Yeah, isn't this weird that when Trump was around, things were a little bit easier and policies were a little bit different? Now when Biden's in charge, it's switched. It's interesting. The news media is somehow making it out that there are hundreds of thousands of babies in detention centers. Like when I have strong nightmares that I'm surrounded by thousands of babies with dirty diapers calling me daddy. And as the president pointed out, it's just not true.
And it is, to deal with a 5 and 6 and 7-year-old. But you went down there and you saw the vast majority of these children, 70% are 16 years old, 17 years old.
See, so most of the people, 75% of the children or the minors that are coming across are 17 and 18 years old. I'm not saying that there are not small children without their families. There are a lot of them as well. But this is an ongoing humanitarian crisis, and Biden attempted in the conference for Americans to be sympathetic to the plight of the migrant.
In Mexico or in Guadalupe saying, I got a great idea. Let's sell everything we have. Give it to a coyote. Have them take our kids across the border into the desert where they don't speak the language. Won't that be fun? Let's go. That's not how it happens.
Guadalupe, by the way, I think he meant Guadalajara, right? Yeah, he's 78. It's okay. The president also moved this week to put Vice President Kamala Harris in charge of the administration's effort on the border, and specifically asked her to work with Central American countries to ask for their help as well. A very challenging task indeed. We are going to continue to monitor this issue at the Gringo Show, so stay with us in the coming weeks. Ricardo Anaya is the candidate who lost to current Mexican president Andrés Manuel López Obrador in the 2018 election. Many said he lost because he was out of touch with the Mexican people, proposing complicated things like a universal basic income that just didn't resonate with enough voters for him to win. So to combat this, he decided a few months ago to do a listening tour of the country, traveling to different parts to better understand the issues in a possible 2024 presidential bid, which brings us to our new series.
Where in Mexico is Ricardo Anaya?
The former presidential candidate caused a stir in social media last week after saying this.
Es un poco como el compadre que gana 2,000 pesos a la semana y en lugar de pagar la luz, el agua, el gas, comprar la comida para la familia, se los bota en caguamas.
He was using it as an analogy to describe how the current president is spending on projects like oil and the airport instead of the people. Understandable, but of course, social media always takes it out of context.
Caguamas.
Get up! ¡Cállense los chicos!
Thank you to our friends at Millennium for that one. But look, Ricky, first, 2,000 pesos for caguamas every week. That's 60 caguamas. I haven't drank that much since the US failed to qualify for the 2018 World Cup. Listen, if you're worried that you're out of touch, don't mess with the working man's alcoholic beverage, especially a caguama, because what I learned in my 11 years in Mexico, a caguama is as sacred as Luis Miguel. By the way, be careful next time you try to buy one in the supermarket. It keeps getting better and better. I'm sure there's going to be a lot of memes in the future. Maybe a good strategy to keep him in the news. I don't know. But in other news, in Mexico City, the scaffolding of the Ángel de Independencia finally came down this week after a year and a half of covering, which is one of the most important monuments in the most important traffic circles in Latin America. It's really great news for the monument, which also serves as a mausoleum for a number of leaders of Mexico's War of Independence. The only shocking thing here is that you may know that we shoot this program only a block and a half from the Ángel. And in a year and a half, I never saw anyone actually on the scaffolding. But I saw
the Secretary of Construction of Mexico City put out this video showing a lot of the construction and the damages that were done by the 2017 earthquake. And I guess also they're having a good time and doing a lot of dance moves on there. And well, I don't know what's happening in this construction.
I don't know what's happening either. A lot of dancing, because I guess when you get access to the Ángel, anything can happen. Just happy we can see her in her full glory again. The big news everyone has been smoking about is that the Mexican lower house voted to approve the legalization of cannabis, a victory for weed activists who have been advocating that approving the drug will reduce crime and help the government in fighting the drug war. The legislation is highly unpopular, with more than 2/3 of Mexicans opposed to the legalization. And opponents argue that it will do nothing to stop the cartels because the market is in the United States. The bill, however, is expected to pass the Senate and be signed by President Andrés Manuel López Obrador. It will become the third country in the world to legalize, behind Uruguay and Canada, with 15 US states having approved recreational marijuana already. And just this morning, New York announced it will legalize, while Democrats in the Senate want to legalize it nationally. There is a possibility the entire continent could be a marijuana heaven very soon. And I'm happy. More weed, more munchies, more brisket sales, right? There's a direct correlation. For the past 4 years, activists have been protesting, smoking, and as a result, eating a lot of chips outside of the Mexican Senate building on Paseo de la Reforma here in Mexico City. We sent Gringo Show correspondent Julian Valwa there to investigate.
Hey everyone, what's up? Julian Valwa reporting from in front of the Mexican Federal Senate, where momentum has been building to legalize marijuana over recent weeks. So instead of talking to senators today, we figured, why don't we check out Planton 420 in front of the Senate instead? Planton 420 is a small park on Reforma Avenue where marijuana activists and enthusiasts have been gathering to call for legalization. And that's right, what you're seeing here is marijuana being grown openly within steps of the Senate building. After conducting a rigid and careful analysis, I concluded that I needed to meet with Planton 420 organizer Miguel to learn more.
I am a grower here at Planton 420, and I've been here since we started the project.
Cool, so you can actually grow here. You can grow your own stuff?
Exactly, yeah, we do grow our own stuff. We have over 1,000 marijuana plants.
Wow, okay. And how did this all get started?
This is an important park because there's been tolerance here for about the past 3-4 years. There started being marijuana events where people would just come, do workshops, smoke, talk about cannabis. And here in Planton 420, since we started, we have 4 fundamental demands. Freedom of cultivation, being able to grow as much as you want without market, without trying to sell it. Second demand is possession, non-profit possession, without any limit. Third demand is shared spaces for consumers in equality with tobacco consumers, which happens here, as you can see. Right. And our fourth demand is dignified treatment from the state based on scientific evidence instead of prejudice. this is also a space for free possession because police don't check here or outside how much you have.
That's what I was going to ask you too. If there's a concern for getting extorted from the police, and I know that not every street corner in Mexico City looks like this. How were you guys able to shield away from the police when you guys were getting started?
Well, since the beginning, we've fought this through civil disobedience, guiding us through the law. So it's kind of ironic that we're winning the judicial battles in the Supreme Court when the judicial system is the one that has been failing us for 100 years. We've had to negotiate with the local government, with the mayorship. We had to negotiate with the local police and ask them not to bother consumers. And in some sense, they've been respectful, but at the same time, they ignore anything that happens. So if you see this area around here, right now it's safe, but when we're just a few of us just guarding the space inside, and it's 2, 3 o'clock in the morning, there's things that happen outside, violent things, or there might be some type of harassment, and police don't stop, they don't come here. It's like it doesn't exist.
Right.
So that allows people that are not protesting, that are not fighting for their rights, that are trying to have an antisocial behavior, free space to do it, because you're not going to get arrested.
So I definitely learned a lot here today at Planton 420 or Planton 420. And I can't help but think of how this could be the beginning of a park in Mexico, or some place where, you know, in other international cities where a lot of people get together and consume cannabis. Feels like this is kind of the start of this. Anyways, back to you, Dan.
All right. Thanks, Julian. Joining us now is a member of Planton 420, Pepe Rivera, who has been involved in the legislation which was just passed. Thanks so much for joining us, Pepe. Pepe, now the legislation would allow adults to use cannabis nationwide. It would grant licenses for producers to cultivate and sell it, and also prioritizes indigenous groups to get the permits first. Did I miss anything here in this legislation?
Well, one of the things that they've been talking about the most is 28 grams, an ounce that you can carry. But that, as we've been saying, is something that doesn't apply for us, for our demands. Because what they're doing, they're actually talking about good cannabis and bad cannabis. And they're saying that whatever you grow in your house, you won't be able to take out and basically carry with you. So possession went from 5, which is what you have here in Mexico, to actually 0 grams instead of 28. They're talking about clubs. The idea is the only place you're going to be allowed to smoke outside of your house is basically a cannabis club. So you need to have money to be able to do that. There's going to be a limitation as to how many people can actually become a member of the club. It's only 20 people, which violates your right to freely associate for something that's legal. They're basically saying you can only be a member of one club. So that's kind of like saying you can only go to one church, for example,
Right.
or be a member of one cannabis club.
So I mean, but as someone who's been working on this for such a long time, it seems like this is a step forward. Do you feel like it is a step forward, or would you rather not have this legislation at all?
Not really, because what we're saying is basically that because of the fines that they're establishing, they're actually higher than what used to be before. No? And so basically, what we're saying, what they're doing right now is they're going to give you a market, but you're still going to be discriminated. So that's the big question: do you want to have a market, or do you want to have your human rights being protected? No, because right now what they're saying, yes, you're going to be able to buy in the store, but they're still going to stop you in the street. No, they're going to use the attack dogs to like search you, stop and frisk. They're going to basically they can still like fire you from your job because you're smoking cannabis. You can't grow without limitations. Why are you going to have limitations in the amount of plants that you can have? But there's no limit as to how much you can buy in the market. So why are they doing that? It's not a question of when we went to the Chamber of the Deputies, we gave him plants, and we basically told him we're not here because of plants, we're not here because of grams, we're here because of human rights, right? And then what we're talking about is limitations. They're unjustified limitations to what you can do with a plant, your own personal relationship with the plant. And what's different between Mexico and the U.S., for example, and other places, is that the regulation in Mexico is court ordered. And what the Supreme Court is asking Congress to do is basically change 5 articles of the general health law, which go against the Constitution. And basically they're asking the Senate to fix the problem that's unconstitutional, and they're asking you to guarantee a human right. And this human right, as Miguel stated in the video, is basically the right to freely develop your personality. So the idea is this: if cultivation, if possession, and consumption aren't free, then how is the right to freely develop your personality actually free? Right? And so there's unjustified limitations. There are limitations that make home grow and clubs. They won't work. They're forcing you to go to the market to actually buy cannabis. And the idea of the court is basically for you to be independent.
Right, and this is really interesting to me because, as you're saying, that it's discriminatory, but it seems like that AMLO's constituency would be not be beneficial to this. So this is really surprising.
Yeah, I mean, we're actually thinking that even though this is something that it's been tasked, Congress has been tasked with this, but we don't think that the president is actually going to approve this, even if it passes through Congress, because what we saw is the medicinal secondary laws, no, el reglamento, basically they had 3 years, and they never published it. The patient had to sue the government, the Secretary of Health, for them to actually be able to receive medicines. So that's what they're doing.
Amparo, right?
Exactly. If that's what they're doing with patients, what are they going to do with us? They're going to say, "Oh, we don't have enough resources," and they're doing some really strange stuff. I mean, it's been a whole year of this process, and the bill actually went to the lower chamber, and it came back. It came back worse than when it left the Senate. One of the things they're doing, for example, is there's double discrimination, because they're saying basically they're only regulating recreational, right? And when the court ordered for the personal use, so it includes spiritual use, medicinal use, anything you can think of to freely develop your personality. They're only doing medicinal. But then they also ask, instead of having a Mexican Cannabis Institute to regulate the market, they're asking the CONADIC, the National Addiction Center,
agency, right?
Like NIDA. And so why are they regulating the market?
Yeah, it's something really interesting that a lot of critics are saying that, or actually proponents of the bill are saying that it'll stop the drug cartels. Critics are saying it's not because the market's in the U.S., but you have a different take on this. You're talking less about that and more as a human rights issue. Can you talk more about that?
Yeah, I mean, first of all, I mean, it's the same thing. They're not really, because there's will. And so basically the idea is they're not asking you to create a market. What they're asking you is to guarantee your relationship with the plants. And that can be done 3 ways: through the market, through home cultivation, and through associations. But nobody's talking. The court never talked about the market. They never talked. They never mentioned it. And so what you're trying to do is basically make sure that people are treated as adults, that the law is proportional, that there's basically the fines or the time that they give you in jail. There shouldn't be any time in jail, but the prohibitions that they're establishing, they're too high. They're not human. Let's put it that way. And so the idea is basically, in order for you to guarantee your relationship with the plants, you can do it through the 4 demands that Miguel was talking about. No, it's just home cultivation, possession, spaces to smoke, medicate, and dignified treatment. That means a law that doesn't discriminate, particularly from something that's very important, and that's what relates, for example, for the U.S. or any other country, is that human rights are universal, right? And basically, the court ordered 245, the article, as unconstitutional. That's as every country has a 245. In the states, it would be the Controlled Substance Act. And what this does, it tells you whether the plant or the substance it has medicinal value and whether it's dangerous, right? They're not changing that. They have to change it, because otherwise, then you're not being ethical, because the court already said that cannabis is in danger for public health, individual health, or public order. So that's the idea. We want to be ethical.
This is really interesting, because I feel like that a lot of people are celebrating this. We don't have too much time. This is my last question for you, because what's interesting is that it's an election year. 2/3 of the Mexican population are against cannabis legislation. It seems weird why they're pushing this through when it doesn't have so much support. Of course, in the U.S., the issues that are involved are less about what you're talking about as a social aspect, but more for tax revenue, for schools, and for infrastructure and other things. And also that the business lobby is pushing because they're opening up a new market here. Doesn't seem like that is being talked about. And what is your thoughts about that? And what is your thoughts about this not getting through the Senate, going back and being revised and not becoming law? And so again, we've heard how many years that weed is legal in Mexico, and then every year it seems like they have another announcement, and cannabis still is not legal.
Well, see, the interesting thing is for us, specifically in terms of strategy, our best scenario is actually for the law not to pass. Because if the law doesn't pass, then basically the court has to do what's called a Declaratoria General de Inconstitucionalidad. And that basically means that the rights that I have, because I have an injunction and an amparo, so I can smoke anywhere. I can plant as many plants as I want, right? That is because the 5 articles that were declaring unconstitutional. I'm detached from the law. And so if the Congress doesn't pass this law, then the Supreme Court is basically going to grab the law and it's going to like black out those 5 articles. And the rights that I have, they're going to give to everybody democratically. So everybody can plant as much as they want. They can do anything they want with it, except for commerce, right? And so we're saying what's important is that it's not that you can buy or make money with this. It's not that it's going to affect like cartels. We never say, at least in the movement or in the planton, we never say that this is something you have to do because it's going to reduce violence, especially because it's going to reduce the amount of money that cartels have. It's going to reduce violence because it's going to let police like concentrate on their job to concentrate on crimes that are actually violent, not because of possession and stuff like that. So what we're actually expecting is basically what the best scenario for Senate is basically it's a hot potato. They don't want to have it because they've actually asked for so many extensions that if they ask for another one, they're going to be at fault, and basically they're going to be you can sue them, right? And so basically right now they want to pass it without any type of modifications. They want to give it to the president so they can become law. If they change anything, it has to go back to the Chamber of Deputies, and then if they change it, then they freeze it for a year, and then basically the court would automatically do the Declaratoria General de Inconstitucionalidad. Everybody gets the rights. Everybody.
Right. Well, let's hope the best thing happens. It's really interesting. I have 2 quick questions for you. Do you feel like there's senators that pass every day and are like pretty interested in what you guys are doing? And if I open up a Pinche Gringo there, do you think I'll sell a lot of brisket? I mean, everybody must have the munchies out there, right?
Second part for sure.
Yes. Great. Right. Pepe Rivera, member of Planton 420. Thank you so much for joining us today on the show.
Thank you for having me. Thank you.
All right, that does it for this edition of the Gringo Show. As always, please support our sponsor, Pinche Gringo Barbecue, by ordering some delicious ribs. And for only 1 more week, order the corned beef. And if you haven't tried it, the Reuben sandwich, it's freaking amazing. It's the special this month. You can visit one of our 6 locations in Mexico City or ordering online at PGBBQ. At pgbbq.mx. Do not miss out. We will be taking a break next week due to the week of the Saint, or what I like to tell children, Semana Santa Claus, so they can have hopes to have him twice a year instead of once. And then when he shows up, I question them why religious holidays have to be materialistic and they need presents all the time. Then I make them cry, and then I feel like I'm making them stronger because they're crying now so they can understand it later. So we'll be back on April 8th with a brand new show. Until then, thanks for tuning in. Make sure you tune us in on YouTube and Facebook Live. And until then, have a great week.
Pinche Gringo, Mexico is laughing thanks to you. We like to watch you dance salsa and listen to your bad Spanish too. We like to watch you almost die from